All right, it's official.
Time to go.
Bye-bye, Palm Beach. Crazy.
Got a little rough all of a sudden.
What?
Hey there, I'm Kelsey, that's Tim, and this is the story of our adventure. Life is fleeting, and we want to squeeze every bit out of it. We are wandering the world, so home is a bit of a moving target for us. We love finding the random, the remote, and sharing it all with you. So subscribe to get lost with us and hopefully find some inspiration to go after your own dreams.
Welcome back! Hey everybody, last week we re-rigged our boat, went for our first sail ever on this boat, and this week it's time to get ready to leave and cast off the lines.
It's a big deal.
We still can't believe that just over a month ago we drove cross country in a rental car filled to the gills.
Stuff, yeah.
Started working on a boat that we didn't own yet, painting the bottom and cleaning it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're on a mooring.
Had to figure this whole boat out.
Working on it like crazy. We've done so much in all that time. Re-rigging, water maker, new chain, new anchor, anchor swivel.
Countless other
Had
projects.
the sails on and off a couple times. Yeah, it's been wild, and we've just been going flat out.
Yeah.
But this is still the closest thing to home that we've had in a while.
Yeah.
A month in one location for us is like stability.
Totally. And although it wasn't the most calm mooring field ever, it was still really fun. I was just saying that this is amazing. Like the fact that I just jumped in the water and I'm sitting here. The water is like amazing temperature, refreshing but not cold. And I just crawled up onto my boat and I'm sitting here, sitting in the sun, drinking a seltzer.
Pretty good. And I'm gonna turn the music down or we'll get a copyright strike.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind right now that this is just, I can do this.
Yeah. It's
So cool. We're not even in a place that like is great for swimming, but
No.
we just had to jump in. It was too hot. We've been working all day.
Yep.
And it's amazing.
Yep.
That's all I can say.
I agree. It is ridiculous. I don't know what to say. All feels like a dream still. So we've just been working really hard on the boat and like doing what we can, but then it just hits you a certain time of day. You're like, no, let's not do anymore. Let's relax. And this is it. And then last night, like sitting up on the hardtop, just watching the sun go down and super yacht watching and whatever happens to be around us. Pretty cool.
You know, we had yachts going by constantly.
Helicopters landing on yachts.
It was crazy. It was so
Peanut
much fun.
Island walking around.
Yeah.
And then we actually got to know a few neighbors too.
Yeah.
So big thank you to Chris and Jen. They're our neighbors on Runamuck, SV Runamuck, just across the way. They were not only just our friends and we got to know them a little bit, but Jen race car drove me up to West Marine while the mast was being wheeled down to our boat.
Yeah, I'm texting with him as the mast is like coming towards the boat. I'm like, it's coming.
Yeah, the crane's coming over and we have to pay for the crane. The moment the crane comes over, we're paying for it. And so she drove me up there as fast as possible and we bought a Windex because we realized at the last moment our mast didn't have a Windex.
We didn't
Not that
know.
we even knew what that was.
Yeah.
And so we got it on in time. So huge thanks to them.
And Tim even got to go up the mast and help them out.
Yes, so as a small way to pay them back, their in-mast furling was stuck and jammed inside the mast. And so I, for my first time ever, got to go up the mast and see if I could unjam it. I was unsuccessful,
Yeah.
but we gave it a shot and it was fun to go up for the first time with some other people around who'd actually done this before.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's just neat to be able to help our neighbors out and who helped us.
Totally.
Whew. Ah.
Feels good.
It feels good to be down. It's not too uncomfortable up there. It's just the cutting off of blood flow in your legs and stuff. You're like, oh.
So now the weather was looking pretty good and it was time to actually leave.
Yes, we were hoping that we got the tides and the currents and the weather window right, but it was time to head out, hit the Gulf Stream, and make some miles north. It was going to be a lot of firsts. We were doing our first long sail, first passage
First
ever.
overnight.
First blue water sailing
Yes.
we'd ever done. And then when we got somewhere, our first time anchoring with this boat.
Yeah.
There was a lot we weren't sure how it was going to go. And so to say we had nerves was an understatement.
Definitely.
Okay, we're ready to go.
All right, it's official.
Time to go.
Spitting. We got water coming out.
Looking good.
Woo.
All right.
We opened up the doors.
Yep. We're in sailing mode.
Sailing mode.
Let's do this.
Okay, starboard off. Good, you're now past the mooring wall.
Talk to you soon. We'll let you know how it goes. Say hi to Jen for us, and thank you for all the rides around.
Bye. Bye-bye, Palm Beach. These headsets, by the way, you might recognize, they're Cardos. So we took our Cardos from the motorcycles and we got headsets, and it is so freaking helpful on a boat. You can do it without it, obviously, but it's really nice.
Show them the little piece on the side. These are very well traveled. They've been all over the US on Triumphs and all over Vietnam. So it's cool. You just use this little piece as the main piece, right? Communicator, and then you can snap it into different things. Your helmet or clearly these. So, pretty cool.
The water is so nice and clear and pretty. Makes you want to jump in.
And with that, we were off, headed out on our first passage. A long way to go.
Lots of nerves.
And thankfully, we headed out in a nice, smooth, calm waters.
Yeah,
and one of our friends even came out that we haven't seen in 10 years from the West Coast, happened to be out in Florida and came out in his boat to send us off. So that was actually really cool.
It was really neat. And for the first part of this passage, honestly, it must have been a fishing tournament or something, because there were boats everywhere, which was actually kind of nice. We didn't feel all alone out there.
No.
Just yet.
Just yet, although that was soon to come.
Yeah.
We put the sails up and just shut off the engines. Even though we were only going 4.5, 5 knots, we figured, why not sail? We have all the time in the world, and we were off on our way.
It was beautiful. All right, we're officially sailing. This is just crazy that we're doing this. We're flying, it feels like, we're doing about 9 knots. And beautiful. The temperature feels great. The water is beautiful and clean. No dolphins yet, but we've seen a few turtles. Haven't managed to capture it on video yet, but yeah, wow. We're finally way out here where you can't really see land. And maybe a few boats on the horizon, but for the first time we really feel like we're out here, I think. Crazy. This is like happening right now.
I love it. It's just amazing. I can't believe we're actually doing it. Like, I think getting out of there this morning was stressful just because it's such a big thing, and it's like, are we doing the right thing? Should we wait another day? Should we wait 5 days? Should we go up the ICW? You know what I mean? So many questions.
Yeah.
And my mind is still a bit of a blur, but it's just dawning on me that we're just rocketing along at 10 knots. Well, speed over ground anyways. And I love it. I absolutely love it. We can't see land, And in no way was that scary. I expected that first time. I remember as a kid going over to Catalina Island, and like the first time you could not see the mainland or the island, you went, shoot, scary. And this feels great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just saw a swordfish jump out of the water. How crazy is that? Unmistakable swordfish. Pretty cool. There's been squalls off our port side most of the day now, most of the afternoon I guess, which is actually kind of nice because it's just cooled it down. The sun is behind clouds now, but we haven't gotten rained on, and the wind has stayed fairly consistent. It's dying out a little bit, but so far so good.
And in no time, it seemed like the sun was setting.
Yep, and it was my first night watch ever. And I was very tired. We had stayed awake all day because it's just hard to settle into that routine, I think.
For sure.
And it's our first passage and everything's exciting. Mm-hmm. And yes, I was pretty tired when I started my first night watch.
Yeah, by the time I took my night watch, it was just so calm and so serene. I absolutely loved it. The moon was rising.
Going up, I think.
Yeah, I saw a line of starlinks going over our head.
Yeah.
It was absolutely a surreal experience, and a calm night watch. There's nothing better, I think.
I was happy to go to bed after mine. All right, so first night watch for me. Midnight, nice and calm. Just waking up.
Well, this is my second night watch. It is about 3:30 a.m. I got on watch at 3, just watching vehicle container ships, all Panamanian, kind of crisscross next to us. It's kind of neat because my last ship, there was no ships at all. Which is also kind of cool in a way to see nothing in all directions. And now it's interesting to see how busy it is all around us. The wind's shifted, so now it's we're on a port tack, and we're actually able to go the direction we want without tacking, so it's kind of moved around nicely for us. Still doing about 9.5 knots, showing about 5-6 knots boat speed through the water, and then 9.5 to 10 speed over ground. Still enjoying that Gulf Stream, and yeah, I'm just zoned out listening to a book and just watching. It's just so neat, you know. Check on sails, check on, you know, all directions of the skyline. And when Starlink is working, we've had a lot of bad luck with it not working so well. I don't know if something's wrong with it or if it's just at sea and this much movement, this is what you get used to. So we'll find out in the future here. But when it's working, I can look up ships on AIS. But it's definitely driving home for me that 1, I wish the radar was working. 2, I wish we had AIS transceiver so we could 1, receive, and I could see it on the screen, what all these ships are without internet, and also to broadcast AIS, because there's little sailboats around us I can see, and it's so nice. I just click on them, see who they are, where they're heading, and we absolutely need to get that. So another thing to get, but boat's just doing so well, and it's handling everything perfectly. I think that's about it. Yeah, it's just so peaceful. We have following seas right now, and we've had them sort of on the beam all day and into the evening. So for my second shift, it's kind of nice just to have them coming up from behind you and just pushing you along.
It was really tough to settle into a routine, like we said. Getting used to all the noises, the way the boat moved, what was normal, what wasn't.
Yep.
It was a lot for your body to handle.
Definitely. Everything's so new to us. And so Kelsey wasn't feeling very good, and I think got a little seasick in your night watch.
I got seasick at night. I think for me, being tired and then like not being able to see and you're still moving, that definitely
I think
got
coupled
me.
with nerves too, it just is a lot to take on. And so I was doing extra long shifts, just trying to stay awake as much as I could and then taking little breaks. But it was a long sort of first full daytime on passage, that's for sure.
So I didn't film a whole lot because I wasn't feeling very good. I was just trying to like feel better and
stay with
not
it.
do too much,
That afternoon and evening was actually pretty nice. The wind had sort of died off, so it wasn't as good for sailing. We had to have one engine on, sort of motor sailing along.
We were still in the Gulf Stream though, so we were still making pretty decent speed.
Yeah, that extra Gulf Stream bump is really nice. So you don't mind sailing very slowly because your total speed's still pretty good.
Yeah, and we hadn't seen hardly anybody. We saw only a handful of boats.
At this point, we were seeing maybe one container ship or cruise ship at night, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the wind picked up.
Yeah.
And so the rest of that night and into the morning, we were flying along pretty good, and it just kept getting rougher and rougher and rougher.
Which was not helpful for how I was feeling.
No, and so at this point, I felt like Kelsey wasn't recovering from her seasickness.
No.
She hadn't kept any water down or food
no.
in, I would say, 36 hours at this point.
Yeah, I was getting pretty dehydrated, and I could not get anything to stay down, and I was feeling pretty weak at that point. And so we had to make a decision that next morning.
Yeah, at this point, it was time to make a decision. And so I had stayed awake as much as I could, and it would take little tiny breaks here and there.
Huge kudos to Tim, because he did like 90% of staying awake, and I laid on the floor feeling terrible. But thank you for taking that, because that was rough.
It was a tough time. I was exhausted.
I was doubting all of our choices in life at that moment.
And it was sometime around that morning that I was going, so what next? How does she recover from feeling like this and get water and food into her? I was starting to worry about her health, actually, at this point.
So, got a little rough all of a sudden. This morning, Kelsey hasn't been feeling good for a couple days straight, and so dehydration's been worrying me. It's one thing to be seasick, and then, you know, it continues, so you need to take care of it at some point. And so I turned the boat to the west, and we're heading towards Charleston, Georgetown, I'm not sure which, I think Georgetown. And then after doing that, actually, man, the seas just picked up. I don't know, I'd probably call them 2 meter or something like that. I mean, some are coming up to the edge of the boat, so maybe that's just like 1.5. But this thing's handling it so well. Autopilot's been handling it well. I've been taking over for it as often as I can, but it's spicy. And I got both engines on. Sails are still up with reef in and a little furled in on the jib, but it's only 13 knots of wind up to about 18. So right now 17.5, but it'll drop down to almost nothing and then come back again, but all within, you know, what we have up in sails right now. If it got more than that, I think I would just drop them, because well, we can do the reefing from back here, but it's still nice to have 2 of us to do it. So I think right now I would just lower it and be done with it for now and motor in. Yeah, we have about 80 miles to go, so we're not that close. I mean, in passage making, I guess we're pretty close, but in me growing up going to Catalina, like 25-30 miles from the coastline, it's still a long way. But boat's just doing so good, so confidence inspiring. All right, I need to get tied back in here.
So looking at the map and the different bailout points, there was one that I had marked previously, but it would take us about 14 hours to get from the Gulf Stream to the coast. So we were fairly far out in the ocean. Yeah. And so that was the moment I knew that we barely had enough time to make it while the sun was still up. We needed to turn and burn. So I went ahead and did a 90-degree turn towards the coast, and we're heading for a little town called Georgetown, just north of Charleston.
Yep.
And our goal was just get there as fast as we could, because we were basically going to be entering what is a very tight inlet that has a lot of caution markers on the charts.
Yeah, and the weather
at night
had gotten substantially rougher. We were bouncing around pretty good, and we were hauling actually, which was great, but it was
we were sailing quick, but it was very rough. There was lots of banging, and you don't know what noises are okay and what aren't.
Often.
And so you're hearing all these massive banging noises and going,
is that okay?
Is that okay, or is that a bad noise, or is that an okay noise? We know with trucks exactly what they should sound like in just about every instance.
Yeah.
With a boat, we just didn't know. So everything was fine. the bridge deck wasn't slamming, but
No.
there was a slamming back here that was actually these side
Side
waves,
waves.
now that we had turned 90 degrees to the Gulf Stream,
And it was so
that were
loud.
slapping on the inside, and you could feel the rudders being pulled, and all I could think about was,
Autopilot.
is everything going to be okay? Is the autopilot going to hold up? I'm so barely awake. I don't know if I can hand steer for 14 hours straight. So we get to this inlet. It is a inlet or an area that was first settled in the 1500s by the Spanish.
Yep.
And there's a very old crumbling breakwater at the entrance. It's very skinny,
Yep.
maybe 100 yards wide or less. And we needed to get through that, and again, had to turn our boat sideways to the waves,
The
and the
wind,
waves
the
and the winds
waves, ugh.
breaking over the top of us.
And at this point, I'm only functioning when Tim is like, I need help doing such and such, or I need help doing this. So it was like, okay, as soon as we get to the inlet, I'm up. And we had our headsets on because it was just so loud, the wind and the waves, that
Absolutely.
we would be yelling at each other. And I'm keeping an eye out, and you're keeping an eye out,
Yep.
and we're just...
And we're hoping the charts
Ugh.
are right, and I read up as much as I could about this inlet, and I'm hoping that both engines stay running. We've already pulled the sails down at this point, and we just need to make it through this inlet into some calm water and drop the hook. The sun is already setting. It was tense, but somehow it all just worked out, and we just kept doing what we knew we should
And
do.
the end was in sight, which was amazing. Like, it
Absolutely.
felt so good to know that, like, we're close. When you say you're 14 hours away, you're like, okay.
It's a bit
but
much.
when you're like, I can see where
30
we're gonna
minutes,
go. Yeah.
hold it together.
Yeah.
And as soon as we dropped the hook, I've never gone to sleep so fast in my life.
We set an anchor alarm.
Set our anchor alarm on
Because
both
it
our
was the
phones.
first time that we were anchoring. Like, what a great time to do your first anchor. No, but it was great. It actually was, and I slept so good. I was so thankful not to
Yeah.
be moving so much. And I finally got some broth. I was able to
Yeah.
like keep something down, which felt really good.
So after at least 24 hours of sleeping at this point and getting a lot of fluids into her,
Yes.
we went ahead and decided we'd go explore a little.
Yeah, I had looked up Georgetown because I had never honestly heard of Georgetown. So I was like,
Not this Georgetown anyway.
Yeah. Where are we? What is this? And so I looked at it and I thought, it looks actually pretty cool. We should probably go in and explore it. So we did, but we will share that with you next week.
Absolutely. I'm exhausted from talking about this
I know.
week. Thank you so much for coming along with us.
Yeah, we appreciate you
it.
guys so much. So we will see you next week. We made it through our first passage.
Woohoo! See you next week. Wanted to get to the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream.
It's too hot. Cool down.
I was staring, and that's where I got
Go
lost,
away.
as I was staring at the screen going,
There's-
can you see him?
There's lots of flies.
Yeah, fly. Buddy, get out of there.